What's up YouTube, Dale here from Zephyr, and today I am bringing you the $100 budget upgrade to the Fire King structure deck. Now the version I decided to go to just because I felt it was a bit more resilient, had a lot more aggression behind it, and that is of course the Brigade version, so technically Fire King Brigade. This will include the main deck, the extra deck, and of course a side deck as well, all within the tidy $100 budget restriction. So with all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more upcoming content. At the end of the profile, I'll also show you a very basic combo of how the two engines synergize incredibly well together in order to give you the most competitive advantage you have, taking this deck further forward on a budget. So with all of that out of the way, let's dive headfirst into the profile and show you what we've got. So we start off with 23 cards from the actual structure deck in the main deck, and then we start off with 15 that you will need to invest in. The side deck all comes from the structure deck, and then the extra deck is where most of the money is going to come into play. So from the structure deck, we start off with triple Ponix alongside triple Kirin and double Garunix. Now, obviously, you could, if you wanted to, buy two structure decks and then try and buy the singles, but by the time you've tried to do that anyway, it's just a lot simpler to get the free structure decks, especially when you can get them on tier 0 for a lot cheaper. So I think it's like £25 before discount, so straight away that probably works at around about $30, and that still leaves you with a very easy $70 price up in order to get you the rest of the deck as well. We're then also playing the one Avatar, one Barong, and of course the one Rabali. Now you don't have to play these level 4s if you don't want to. You can actually cut them down and just go for the one Avatar and the one Barong, but I like playing the one of each of them just to kind of keep the synergy going, and it can sometimes come up the fact that they are the beast warriors of the deck. Not only can they be searched off a 10 key, but they can also give you the ability to be banished from the graveyard with your Brigade monsters. The rest of the cards from the structure deck come in the form of the Fire King Island alongside the triple Fire King Sanctuary as well. You've then of course got triple Tenki and triple Infinite Impermanence. Now these cards are all the ones that are included in the structure decks. I think Imperm is one of the best hand traps right now just because it's one of the ones that does not trigger Trill Tactics, Thrust or Talents, and it also gives you the ability to be activated your turn or your opponent's turn, which is really, really important. Moving on to the rest of the deck that does not come in the structure deck, sadly. Now, of course, the probably most expensive single card itself will, of course, be Ash Blossom, but while it is relatively cheap at the moment, you can pick up supers for like £3 to £4, and you can pick up a common playset for around about £7.50 to £10, roughly about $10. The other cards that I've added into this is Fire Recovery. I think this is a really good card, especially if you are using the Brigade engine. So for those of you that aren't familiar with what Fire Recovery does, it is a super from Age of Overlord. You target one fire monster in your graveyard and you send one card from your hand to the graveyard, and if you do, you get to special summon the targeted monster. So it's a nice little 1-for-1 monster reborn. On top of that, you also have the ability to target 3 of your banished fire monsters or 3 monsters that are in the graveyard. So you get to target a mixture of those. You shuffle them back into the deck and then you draw 1 card. So it gives you nice recoverability and recurability as well as the draws. Now these are going to be a little bit more effective for the Brigade cards because what you've got to remember is Fractal and Kit are both fire monsters, which is very, very useful to get you a draw and recycle them for future plays. Carrying on with the rest of the additions, I've also gone with double Original Sin Full Spoils Snake Eyes. Now this is currently like £2 on eBay, and what this allows you to do is it allows you to send one other face-up card you control to the graveyard to special summon a level 1 fire monster from the hand or deck. You can also banish this card from the graveyard to target a Snake Eyes or Deer Bell style monster in the graveyard. You add a level 1 fire monster from your deck to the hand, and then you place the targeted monster onto the bottom of the deck. You can only use 1 effect per turn. So with something like Snake Eyes, the ideal way of going for it is you're going to want to be summoning out your Ponix. Ponix being your level 1 fire that is so important is why you are playing the Sinful Spoils, is also why you are playing 1-for-1. In this particular edition, I'm also decided to play the one Snake Eyes Ash because the original Sinful Spoils will allow you to recycle the Ash as well as searching you out a Ponix. Now you don't have to play Ash, this can be a third copy of the Sinful Spoils if you want to, just to kind of give you as much consistency as possible to get to the Ponix. Overall, with the Brigade lineup, you don't need to worry about trying to get to the Ponix anyway because your natural route of play, which you'll see in the combo, can get to it. What the original Sinful Spores does provide you though is that ability to get to Aponics without conducting your normal summon, and it then allows you to trigger off all the rest of your Fire King kind of plays. It is subjective because at the end of the day, like I said, the Tri-Brigade engine is doing that job for you anyway, but you can't always guarantee that you're going to have Tri-Brigade cards, and you can't always guarantee you're going to have Fire King cards, so this can be a nice little alternative bridge between the two of them, and at £2 a copy, I think it's wild not to have them, just in case you wanted to shuffle up the way the deck plays in the future. Now for the Tri-Brigade monsters. Now I've already shown you the price of some of these online. Like you can get a playset of Fractals for like £6 in the right place, and the same for kits because they've had their original Ultras / Super prints and of course their newer Secret Rare prints in the Megatins. So we do go with triple Fractal and triple kit, and these are most two important ones of them. Considering they are both fires as well, they do have a bit more utility because they can be destroyed with some of your Fire King cards, and on top of that, like I mentioned with the Fire Recovery spell, they can also be shuffled back into the deck to allow you to draw cards as well. Not to mention that when you're banishing these cards off of the effects of other Tri-Brigade monsters, again, you're actually utilizing your resources even more. You do need to be a little bit careful when you're doing that because obviously Revolt can do that job just as much for you. We've then of course got the one Nerval and the one Karaz, followed up by the one Crow and of course the one Revolt. So again, it's entirely up to you on this one. I feel that this is the base minimum lineup you need. DD Crow is a very nice search that can come off the back of your Fractal should you want it, as a nice way of interrupting your opponent's graveyard, which can be utilized against most of the meta decks around. Revolt is just an incredibly powerful card in general, and the fact that it's so easily searchable throughout the Tri-Brigade play is such a very easy, cheap and easy engine to get hold of. We've already talked about how Fractal Nervals come as like a super and a common. Your Karaz was a super and an ultra, which is probably the hardest one to get out of all of these. But at the end of the day, you're looking at about 10p for a common Nerval, about £1.50 for a super kit, £2 to £2.50 for your Fractals per copy, and then a Karaz is very easily like £2 a copy. So nice and easy to pick all of these up, and they do add such a nice angle to the deck, just because you get to utilize the extra deck so much more, and that's where most of your investment is going to come. So in the structure deck from the extra deck, of course you do have the Garunix Eternity, and this is an incredibly powerful boss monster alongside the one Heater. The cards you're going to need to invest in is of course going to need to be your Almirage, your Scareclaw Lightheart, and the reason for this is that it is a level 1 or a link 1 Beast Warrior monster, so it can be banished. So what you do is you can use Nerval, link off into a Almirage, and then if you get another Tri-Brigade on the board, you can banish the Tri-Brigade from the graveyard to summon out your Scareclaw Lightheart, and then straight away you've got your instant link free access. You've then got options for Pit Knight early, obviously Firajit alongside Bearbrum, and your Ancient Warrior of Double Dragon Lords. Now keep in mind, Pit Knight Conks is a Cyverse, but if you wanted to, you could play instead of Almirage, you could play something like Linkuriboh, and in doing so you have Linkuriboh plus Pit Knight early, both being Cyverse of a different attribute, can get you into a Heat Soul Talker if you want to. But all of these are just Beast Warriors or Beasts that can come off the back of your Tri-Brigade Banish effects. Then of course we do play the one Desperate Doom Eagle, and the reason I like this is it's just a very aggressive winged beast option that you can summon by banishing monsters or materials from the graveyard. It's really kind of cool, and it does give you that ability to gain 2400 attack while your opponent has no monsters in their graveyard, as well as the quick effect to target a monster in your opponent's graveyard and shuffle it into the deck. So a nice technical route of a DD Crow. Of course you've got the one Rugal, two of your Shurags, one Appaloosa, one Borrelsword, and the one Zelantis. Now Zelantis is actually really important in this build, and that's why you kind of have the difference between the two. The idea is that what you want to do is you want to turn your Shurag into a Zelantis so that Shurag can then search you out your Ponix. But what I've also kind of added into this, and that's why you can utilize the ability of the Sinful Spores a little bit more in this build as well. It's because technically, let's say you've had to use up your normal summon to get to the Shurag. You can then have the ability of using your Sinful Spores to send the Shurag, because let's say you drew this off of a Ferrijit or something like that. You could activate this to send the Shurag to the graveyard. The Shurag can still search, and this can then special summon. It's not an ideal rule-breaking card, but it's definitely a card that can help you utilize a little bit more. It's something you don't have to play, but like I said before, it's one of these cards that I feel for a deck like this, it could actually see itself creeping up in price in the future, and it's definitely one of the ones that I'd rather have right now while they're £2 a copy, than not having in the future when they go up to like £5 a copy. So that's it for the extra deck. I'm now going to take you through the side deck. Now the side deck is pretty straightforward because it's all cards that come in the structure deck, so it keeps your budget very cheap and easy. So Tribble, Droll and Lockbird, 2 Dogoran with 2 alphas. So you've got your board breaking kaiju, and then you've got a boss monster that can help you bounce back resources as well as clearing off an opponent's board non-targeting. We've then got 2 Dark Hole, a searchable technical Dark Hole / Torrential Tribute. And the Torrential Tributes are in here for when you're guaranteed to go first, followed up by, of course, Solemn Judgments. Now, of course, if you did buy the Rarity Collection set, all of this can be shuffled up and changed a little bit more, because if you were able to get hold of Forbidden Droplets, for example, Dark World No Mores, Evenly Matches, you name it, even Triple Tactic Talents, you can then add them to your side deck or the main deck. I tried to keep this as cheap as possible, which is why you can see all of these came within the structure deck, and there is only, like I said, 17 cards in the main deck, and then 13 cards in the extra deck that didn't come in the structure deck. Shurag is about £4 a copy for an ultra rare, and then you're looking at stuff like Boral Swords, which is only a couple of quid. Appaloosa is probably the most expensive single card from your extra deck, which I believe sits at around £6 to £8. Your Zelantis is like £1 to £2 as it was reprinted in the Megatins most recently. And then you look at your Bearbrum, which came as a rare and an ultra rare reprint. Rugal is a super. Your Doom Eagle is a rare. Ferrigy is like £1.75 for an ultra rare. Pit Knight Early is a a common and an ultra. And of course your Lightheart and Almirage both have had recent reprints. This one in the Megatin, and this one I believe also had a rare print, if I can remember correctly. If not, I know it also had an ultra rare, so it is very cheap and easy to pick up and add to the structure deck without it breaking the bank for you. So that's it for the profile. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the combo that can utilize the Tri-Brigade engine in order to unlock your Fire King plays as well. So we're back now. So this is how much crazy consistency this combo can have. So ideally what you can do is you want to route to Fractile just to kind of fill up your board with the Winged Beast. So you've got 3 options of Tenki, 3 options of Fractile itself, and then all you need is another Winged Beast, Beast or Beast Warrior card. So you have loads of options to go for. We'll start off with the very basic one here, and we're just going to go with the Avatar. Again, like I said, it could be absolutely anything you want. The idea is that we'll also start off with Tenki just to kind of give us that additional board presence. So you'd activate the Tenki, you search out your Fractile. Now, if you're worried about Droll, of course, you'd rather start with a Fractile, but you can never guarantee that. You're then going to use Fractile's effect. You're going to discard it to then send Kit from deck to grave, and then you're going to use Kit's effect to send you your Nerval, and then you can use Nerval's effect to add you the Karass. Now, the whole idea of having another Beast, Beast Warrior, or Winged Beast is so that you can use Karass's effect to send that to the graveyard to summon itself down. You can then use Karass's effect. You're going to banish 3 from the graveyard. You probably want to leave the Fire King in there. If it was just 3 Tri-Brigade names, by all means banish them. And now you can get rid of your Fractile, your Kit, and your Nerval to go into a Rugal. So what you're going to be able to do here is you're then going to link up your Karass with the Rugal. And of course, if you do have other cards in the hand, you do have options for Ferrigy, you have Bearbrum, you have everything else. You just want to make sure that in the remainder of the hand, you need a card to put back. So if you're looking at this from your opening hand of 5, you're going to be able to do that combo very consistently. And I'll show you what you can do with that particular combo when you have that additional card in the hand. With this, I'm just going to show you what happens with the base minimum. So let's say your opponent hand loops you for 3. What 2 cards do you really want to be keeping? In doing so, you're going to go into the Shurag Ominous Omen. And then that's when you're going to want to link this off and go into the World Dragon Zelantis. In doing so, your Shurag's effect is going to go off. And for those of you that are unfamiliar with its secondary effect, it has the ability that you can add, if it's sent to the graveyard, you get to add a Beast, Beast Warrior, or Winged Beast monster from the deck to the hand whose level is less than or equal to the number of your banished Beast, Beast Warrior, and Winged Beast monsters. So you currently have 3, so you get to add your starter for your Fire Kings. You normal summon off your Fire King Ponix. Ponix's effect will then go off. This is going to allow you to get into the Sanctuary. And then you're going to activate the Sanctuary to activate your Fire King Island directly from the deck. In doing so, you go the exact same combo route that I've shown you previously. Your Fire King Island destroys the Ponix, and that will then allow you to add your Garunix. On the new chain, Garunix effect will trigger to summon itself down because your Ponix was destroyed. Garunix will then use its effect to destroy the Barong in the deck. And then what you're going to do from here is you're going to pass your opponent's turn. During the standby phase, of course, your Barong and, of course, your Ponix are going to trigger. Ponix is going to come back to your hand. Barong is going to allow you to add your Kirin from the deck to the hand. And again, you've got the exact same ability to board nuke your opponent just by very simply, during the main phase, activate Kirin's effect to summon itself down, destroying the Ponix. And in doing so, when your opponent special summons a monster, you then get the ability to overlay your avatar and your Garunix to go into your Garunix Eternity. This will then, of course, destroy all other monsters on the field, including the Zelantis. And in doing so, what you'll then kind of come back to, as it comes back to your turn, you're going to draw a random card for turn. You're going to get the Ponix effect in the graveyard to add back to the hand, so now you've got another starter to go. You've also got the ability of the Fire King Island to destroy the Eternity. What I would probably advise at this point is, because you don't have a Garunix in the graveyard, is if you detach off of this to destroy your opponent's spell and traps, when you activate the Fire King Island to destroy the Eternity, you'll be able to use Eternity's effect to bring back one monster, being itself, and then, because the Garunix was in the graveyard when this card was destroyed, it will summon itself back as well. I believe it can also do that if both materials go to the graveyard, but you just want to make sure you're clearing off your opponent's back row. Even then, you still have the ability of normal summoning Ponix, searching out, doing everything else you need to. Not to mention that if you've got any access to any of your Tri-Brigade monsters or you held anything back, you're going to be able to push even further. So now I'm going to reset you this, and I'm going to show you what happens when you add any other card to your hand and how you can then utilize the Tri-Brigades to even more defensive capabilities as well. So this is the basic way of how you can utilize the Tri-Brigade cards within this deck to its max potential. Now what you need is a way of getting kit to the graveyard, and I'm going to show you how you do that through the Fire Kings directly themselves. So we're going to start off with Ponix, Kit, and then just a random card that will need to be put back to the deck in order for you to keep hold of Revolt at the end of this combo. So you can technically see this is a 2.5 card combo. If you're including like your remaining opening hand, you should still have 2 more cards in the hand to play around with. So we're going to start off by normal summoning a Ponix. We're going to go through the normal Fire King play. So we're going to grab the Sanctuary. Sanctuary is going to grab the Fire King Island. But on this one, rather than destroying the Ponix, we're actually going to destroy the Kit in the hand, as it is a fire monster. In doing so, this will allow us to resolve the Fire King Island to add us a Garunix. And then on a new chain, you've got Chainlink 1 Kit, Chainlink 2 Garunix. Garunix will summon itself down while also sending the Nerval from the deck to the graveyard off of Kit. Again, on a new chain, you'll be able to go Chainlink 1 Nerval, Chainlink 2 Garunix. Garunix will then destroy one monster in the deck for you, which is of course going to want to be your Baron, so you're going to get the resource management during the next turn. And the Nerval is going to add you a Fractal. What you're going to want to do here is you're going to want to link off your Garunix and the Ponix. Obviously, what you are sacrificing is the loop of the Ponix, but you can get that later on in place anyway. You'll go into your Ferrojeet. Ferrojeet will then give you the ability to special summon down the Fractal, and you can now use Fractal's effect to banish 2 Winged Beast or Beast Warriors or Beast from the graveyard, so we'll use Kit and Nerval to summon out the Bearbrum. At this point here, what you want to do is you want to link both the Ferrojeet and the Bearbrum together and go into a 2-negate Appaloosa. You could go into Shurag if you wanted to, but you do need to be a little bit careful because you are going to lock yourself into Winged Beast, meaning that you cannot go through the Zelantis play when you use Bearbrum's effect. So you're going to use Ferrojeet's effect to draw a card and then put a card back, and then you're going to use Bearbrum's effect to search yourself out Revolt and then put a card back. You're then going to set the Revolt and you're going to pass your opponent's turn. Now what we have here is during the standby phase, you can utilize the effect of course, your Baron, and this is going to allow you to add the Kirin, or of course you can add a Garunix or even a Ponix for follow-up of the next turn. Then what you're also going to have is you're going to have the ability that during your opponent's turn, you can activate the Revolt, you can bring back Ferrojeet as it was successfully link summoned. You cannot bring back Ringbrum as this was actually special summoned off of the back of a Tri-Brigade effect, so keep that in mind. But then you also have the ability to bring back your Kit and the Nerval, meaning that when you link these together and go into a Shurag for a very nice non-target banish, you're then also going to be able to get the ability of triggering your Kit and the Nerval. So your Kit can then send you anything you want, and then your Nerval can then also search you out like a Fractal for a follow-up of the next turn, or a Koraz if you wanted to. The idea is that you're just going to be filling up your graveyard with more Tri-Brigade monsters, so that when it comes back to your turn, if you've protected the Fractal, this Fractal here is already going to be able to banish to bring you up some stronger monsters from the extra deck and go from there. On top of that, if you are able to extend further, or if you were to destroy one of your own cards, which you will do off of the back of your Kirin, so all you need to do is have the ability to destroy another fire monster, hello Fractal. In doing so, you'd actually have the ability to summon back the Garunix from the graveyard, and of course the Kirin. So again, if your opponent has played through this, they would have played for a Revolt, leading into a Shurag Banish, leading into 2 negates off the back of Appaloosa, and if they're still somehow around, you activate the Kirin to destroy the Fractile on the board, to summon down the Kirin and overlay the Kirin with the Garunix to go into your Garunix Eternity, destroying all other monsters on the board, and then you'll have the ability to trigger even more effects. Because keeping in mind as well, you would have had already searched out a Fractile for a follow-up, or you would have followed up with a Kuraz, depending on what else is in your hand. So there's loads of cool different options, and that's just to kind of show you how you can go through the normal routes of play for the Tri-Brigades, and why I feel that they're probably the most beneficial budget option for this deck in order to make it competitive as possible. Yes, the Dogmatica version is really kind of cool, but I don't feel the Dogmatica version has as much stability against multiple hand traps. Like, there are different ways where you can bait out Ash Blossom's early doors. There's ways that you can bait out stuff like Veilers and Imperm's early doors, and then you're just able to build up from that point on, which is what I think makes this deck really, really cool, really, really fun, and definitely a cool contender going forward without breaking the bank massively. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. If you do have any questions at all, by all means, please put them in the comments down below. I will be more than happy to answer them for you. But hopefully this budget build has given you a couple of ideas on your own your own build and which direction you would want to take this deck. What I like about all the structure decks that Konami's are producing right now is that they can be very flexible. They do have loads of different variations, and it does kind of bring back some of the old school nostalgia, and just gives you different options without having to spend huge amounts of money in order to compete. This deck will only get better in the future when we end up getting Bonfire, and of course we already had, I believe as of yesterday, we had a new exclusive Fire King monster revealed as well, which is a really cool addition, which comes out in, like, I believe it's the OCG stories. So I can't wait to see what happens with that as well. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, share. Till next time, as absolutely always, stay safe, and of course, happy dueling.